There is a quiet danger that rarely makes headlines. It doesn't crash into your life like a storm. It doesn't scream warnings or wave red flags. Instead, it whispers. It whispers in the comfort of routine, in the job that feels good enough, in the dreams you keep postponing until someday, in the voice that tells you not to try, because trying might mean failing. And slowly, almost invisibly, life begins to settle. Not collapse, not fail, just settle. And that is what makes it so dangerous. Most people don't wake up one morning and decide to live an average life. They don't consciously choose mediocrity. They don't say, "I want my potential to remain untouched." They don't plan to trade their dreams for comfort. It happens gradually, quietly, comfortably. A stable routine becomes a permanent routine. A temporary compromise becomes a lifestyle. A small fear becomes a permanent boundary. Years pass, then decades. And one day, a question appears like an echo in a quiet room. Is this all there is? Not because life is terrible, but because something inside whispers that it could have been extraordinary. This audiobook begins at that moment, because the truth is simple and uncomfortable. Comfort does not equal happiness. Comfort feels safe, predictable, manageable. But comfort also has a hidden cost. When you stay in the comfort zone too long, your dreams don't disappear dramatically. They fade quietly. Your ambitions don't explode. They shrink. Your potential doesn't vanish. It waits, unused. And unused potential becomes regret. Not loud regret, not dramatic regret, but the quiet kind that appears late at night when the world is silent and honest thoughts rise to the surface. The regret of wondering what could have been. The regret of knowing you were capable of more. The regret of settling. This book is not about shame or guilt. It is about awakening. Because the moment you realize you've been settling is the moment your real life can begin. There is a different way to live, a way driven not by fear, but by purpose. Not by routine, but by intention. Not by comfort, but by growth. This way of living has a name: the relentless pursuit of greatness. Greatness is not reserved for the lucky. It is not limited to the talented. It is not owned by the privileged. Greatness is a decision to raise your standards. A decision to refuse average. A decision to grow when it would be easier to stay the same. And once that decision is made, everything begins to change. The relentless pursuit of greatness does not mean perfection. It does not mean never resting. It does not mean becoming obsessed with achievement at the cost of joy. It means choosing progress over stagnation. It means choosing courage over comfort. It means choosing the long road when the short road leads nowhere meaningful. It means waking up and deciding that your potential deserves a chance. Throughout this audiobook, you will discover the invisible patterns that keep people stuck in average lives. You will learn how comfort quietly limits ambition, and how raising your standards can transform the direction of your future. You will learn why discipline beats motivation, why failure is not the opposite of success, why the environment around you shapes the person you become, why long-term thinking creates extraordinary results, and why the life you want is built one intentional day at a time. More importantly, you will begin to see yourself differently, not as someone waiting for the perfect opportunity, but as someone capable of creating it. Not as someone hoping for change, but as someone capable of becoming the change. This is not a story about becoming someone else. It is a journey toward becoming the fullest version of who you already are. Imagine waking up excited about your direction. Imagine trusting your discipline more than your moods. Imagine looking back years from now with pride instead of quiet questions. That future begins with a decision to stop drifting, a decision to stop shrinking, a decision to stop settling. The path ahead will challenge you. It will ask more of you than comfort ever did. But it will also give more than comfort ever could. Growth, confidence, purpose, momentum, and most importantly, the deep satisfaction of knowing you didn't let your potential go unused. This audiobook is an invitation to raise your standards, an invitation to reclaim your ambition, an invitation to step out of autopilot and into intention. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need perfect confidence. You only need the willingness to begin. Because the greatest tragedy is not failure. The greatest tragedy is never trying. Welcome to the journey of refusing average. Welcome to the journey of becoming relentless. Welcome to the journey of your next chapter. This is Never Settle, the relentless pursuit of greatness. Welcome to Limitless Listening. This channel is your space to slow down, focus, and grow. Here, we bring powerful lessons from motivational and personal development audiobooks directly to you, so you can learn, reflect, and transform your life wherever you are. Whether you're commuting, relaxing, studying, or preparing for a new day, these audiobooks are designed to help you think bigger, build better habits, and unlock your full potential. Take a deep breath, clear your mind, and allow yourself to fully absorb the journey ahead. Because growth begins the moment you decide to listen with intention. Now, let's continue. Chapter 1. The Danger of Comfort. Comfort rarely announces itself as danger. It does not arrive with loud alarms, flashing lights, or visible warnings. It comes softly. It enters life disguised as security, routine, and ease. It feels harmless. It feels deserved. After all, who does not want peace, convenience, and stability? Who does not want to avoid pain, uncertainty, and struggle? Yet many people never realize that the greatest threat to their future may not be failure, hardship, or rejection. It may be comfort. Comfort is seductive because it asks for nothing today while stealing from tomorrow. It allows a person to remain where they are, while quietly convincing them they are exactly where they should stay. It turns potential into postponement. It turns dreams into distant ideas. It turns ambition into memory. And it does all of this without resistance. That is what makes comfort dangerous. It does not attack your life. It slowly numbs it. There are countless people who once had powerful dreams. They wanted to build businesses, transform their health, write books, travel the world, lead movements, learn skills, and create meaningful lives. But somewhere along the journey, they found a comfortable routine. The paycheck was enough. The days became predictable. The discomfort of growth seemed unnecessary. The urgency faded. Years passed. The dream did not die dramatically. It simply faded quietly under the weight of convenience. This is how comfort wins. It is important to understand that comfort itself is not evil. Rest is necessary. Peace matters. Safety has value. The problem begins when comfort becomes a permanent address instead of a temporary recovery place. Comfort is healthy when it restores you. It becomes destructive when it traps you. A comfortable chair is useful. Living in that chair for years is another story. Many people confuse being comfortable with being fulfilled. These are not the same thing. Comfort satisfies the body in the short term. Fulfillment satisfies the soul over the long term. Comfort says, stay where it is easy. Fulfillment says, go where growth lives. One feels pleasant today. The other builds pride tomorrow. The comfort zone is not always obvious. It can look like staying in a job you have outgrown because it feels familiar. It can look like avoiding difficult conversations because silence feels easier. It can look like delaying your business idea because your paycheck feels safer. It can look like saying you want change while protecting every habit that prevents it. The comfort zone is often a prison with invisible walls. From the outside, everything looks fine. But inside, something knows there is more. You may know this feeling. You wake up, follow routines, handle responsibilities, smile when needed, and continue forward. Yet deep inside there is a quiet restlessness, a whisper that asks, "Is this all?" A sense that you were built for more than repetition. That feeling is not dissatisfaction. It is potential calling. Potential is uncomfortable because it demands movement. It asks you to become someone greater than your current identity. It asks you to release excuses, confront fear, and stretch beyond what feels natural. Many people silence that call because comfort is louder in the short term. Comfort says, maybe later. Potential says, now. Comfort says, you are fine. Potential says, you are capable of more. Comfort says, don't risk embarrassment. Potential says, growth always risks discomfort. Every meaningful achievement requires a season of discomfort. Strength comes through resistance. Confidence comes through action. Wisdom comes through mistakes. Leadership comes through responsibility. Freedom comes through discipline. Nothing extraordinary grows inside the soil of endless ease. Think of the athlete who trains before sunrise while others sleep. Think of the entrepreneur who works through uncertainty while others choose guaranteed routines. Think of the student who studies while friends relax. Think of the person healing emotionally who chooses therapy, honesty, and inner work instead of hiding behind distractions. Growth often feels inconvenient in the beginning, but comfort becomes painful in the end. This is the trade many fail to see. Temporary discomfort creates long-term freedom. Temporary comfort often creates long-term regret. Regret is one of life's heaviest emotions because it cannot be changed easily. It sounds like this: I knew I should have tried. I had the talent. I had the time. I wanted more. I was just too comfortable to move. Years later, many people would gladly trade their old comfort for one chance to be brave earlier. Do not wait for regret to become your teacher. Learn now. There is a hidden cost to staying comfortable too long. Your confidence weakens. Confidence is built through keeping promises, taking risks, and handling challenge. When life becomes too soft, your inner strength can become dull. You start doubting your ability to adapt because you have stopped practicing courage. Like a muscle unused, bravery shrinks when neglected. That is why people often feel fear when facing new opportunities after long periods of comfort. It is not because they are incapable. It is because courage has been inactive. The good news is that courage returns quickly when exercised. One bold step can wake sleeping strength. Send the application. Start the workout. Make the call. Launch the idea. Speak the truth. Enroll in the class. Leave what no longer serves you. You do not need to leap across mountains in one day. Often the first escape from comfort begins with one uncomfortable action repeated consistently. Many people wait to feel ready before they act. But readiness is often a myth. Few people feel fully prepared when entering a bigger life. Confidence usually comes after action, not before it. The person who starts scared often grows faster than the person who waits comfortably. You must also understand that comfort can be socially reinforced. Sometimes the people around you prefer the smaller version of you because it keeps everything familiar. Growth can challenge relationships. When you rise, others may feel exposed by their own stagnation. Some may discourage your ambition not because it is wrong, but because it reminds them of what they abandoned. Do not let another person's fear become your future. Protect your vision. You do not need permission to grow. There may be seasons when choosing growth feels lonely. That is normal. When you step beyond the average path, not everyone will understand. But loneliness in growth is temporary. Regret in stagnation can last years. Choose temporary loneliness over permanent limitation. Another danger of comfort is identity. If you repeat the same safe behaviors long enough, you begin believing that is who you are. I'm just not ambitious. I'm not the type to lead. I'm not disciplined. I'm not creative. I'm too old. I'm too late. These are rarely truths. They are often stories built from comfortable habits. Identity is shaped by repeated action. Change the actions, and identity begins to change. A person who exercises regularly starts seeing themselves as healthy. A person who writes daily becomes a writer. A person who speaks up becomes confident. A person who takes responsibility becomes powerful. Your current identity may simply be the result of your current comfort patterns. That means it can change. Imagine your life 1 year from now if you challenged comfort daily. Imagine waking earlier with purpose. Imagine stronger health because you embraced discipline. Imagine better finances because you learned new skills. Imagine peace because you addressed problems instead of avoiding them. Imagine pride because you became someone who acts. This future is not reserved for the lucky. It belongs to those willing to be uncomfortable long enough to transform. Start small if needed. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Wake 30 minutes earlier. Read instead of scrolling. Speak when silence is fear. Save money instead of spending for emotion. Apply for what intimidates you. Choose consistency over convenience. Each decision trains your mind to leave the comfort zone. Each act becomes evidence that you are stronger than your habits. Eventually, discomfort changes character. What once felt difficult becomes normal. What once scared you becomes routine. The conversation you feared becomes easy. The workout you resisted becomes habit. The responsibility you avoided becomes strength. Then a new truth appears. Growth creates a higher kind of comfort. Not the comfort of hiding, the comfort of capability. Not the comfort of avoidance, the comfort of confidence. Not the comfort of small living, the comfort of knowing you can face life. This is the comfort worth pursuing. Life will never reward you fully for protecting your potential. It rewards expression, courage, and contribution. The world does not need the version of you that stayed safe. It needs the version that stepped forward. There is brilliance inside many people that never reaches daylight because comfort kept the door closed. Do not let that be your story. One day you will look back on this season. You will either remember it as the time you settled deeper into routine, or the time you decided enough was enough. The time you chose growth over ease. The time you traded excuses for effort. The time you stopped shrinking and started expanding. The time you walked out of invisible walls. Comfort will always invite you back. It will always whisper that tomorrow is better, that safety is smarter, that now is not the time. But if you listen carefully, another voice is speaking too. It is the voice of the stronger self inside you. The self that knows you are not made merely to exist. The self that knows challenge is the doorway. The self that knows your next level is waiting on the other side of discomfort. Listen to that voice. Move anyway, because the greatest danger is not that life will be hard. The greatest danger is that life will become easy enough for you to forget how powerful you could have been. Chapter 2. Raising Your Standards. There comes a moment in every powerful life when a person becomes tired of their own excuses, not tired in the body, but tired in the soul. Tired of saying they want more while accepting less. Tired of promising change and repeating the same habits. Tired of living beneath their potential while pretending circumstances are the problem. Tired of knowing deep down that they were built for more, yet settling for what is easy, familiar, and average. That moment is sacred, because greatness often begins quietly, not with applause, luck, or dramatic opportunity, but with a decision that says, this is no longer acceptable. A decision that says, I will no longer negotiate with mediocrity. A decision that says, my life deserves higher standards. Standards are the invisible rules you live by. They shape what you tolerate, what you pursue, what you repeat, and what you reject. They determine the quality of your habits, relationships, work ethic, health, mindset, and future. Many people say they want success, but they keep low standards. They want confidence, but tolerate self-neglect. They want wealth, but tolerate careless spending. They want peace, but tolerate toxic environments. They want excellence, but tolerate lazy habits. Your results do not respond to wishes. They respond to standards. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You often fall to the level of what you consistently allow. That is why two people can want the same outcome and experience very different lives. Both may want health. One tolerates excuses, inconsistency, and comfort. The other demands discipline, movement, and self-respect. Over time, the standards create the separation. Both wanted the same thing. Only one required it. This is where many misunderstand greatness. They imagine greatness as talent, fame, status, or rare opportunity. But true greatness begins long before the world notices. It begins in private decisions. It begins in what you accept when no one is watching. It begins when you refuse to remain average in places others ignore. The average person wakes without intention. The great person rises with purpose. The average person spends emotionally. The great person spends strategically. The average person quits when motivation fades. The great person continues through discipline. The average person blames. The great person adjusts. The average person waits. The great person moves. Greatness is not one giant act. It is 1,000 higher standards practiced daily. Look carefully at your life, and you will see your current standards everywhere. Your room reflects standards. Your bank account reflects standards. Your body reflects standards. Your schedule reflects standards. Your relationships reflect standards. Your mindset reflects standards. This truth is not meant to shame you. It is meant to empower you, because if standards created the current reality, new standards can create a new one. Many people stay stuck because they think change must begin with massive action. But often change begins with upgraded expectations. Before behavior changes externally, identity shifts internally. You stop saying, "I hope things improve." You begin saying, "This level is beneath who I am becoming." That sentence changes everything. When your standards rise, certain behaviors become intolerable. Not because someone forced you, but because they no longer match your identity. You stop oversleeping because your mornings matter. You stop wasting money because your future matters. You stop entertaining chaos because your peace matters. You stop procrastinating because your mission matters. You stop shrinking because your potential matters. Raising standards is an act of self-respect. It is the moment you recognize that your time, energy, talent, and life are too valuable to be handled carelessly. Imagine someone handed you a priceless instrument and asked you to protect it. You would clean it, store it carefully, and treat it with value. Yet many people treat their own lives with less respect than they would treat an object. They neglect their minds. They abuse their bodies. They waste their time. They betray their own promises. Then they wonder why life feels heavy. When you raise standards, you begin treating your life as something precious. You start protecting what matters. You become selective with attention. You become intentional with energy. You become disciplined with time. You become honest with yourself. And slowly, life responds. One reason average is dangerous is because it becomes normal. Human beings adapt quickly. If you live below potential long enough, mediocrity begins to feel acceptable. You stop noticing the wasted hours. You stop noticing weak routines. You stop noticing the gap between who you are and who you could become. Average numbs awareness. That is why sometimes discomfort is a gift. It wakes you up. It shows you that what you accepted is no longer enough. The frustration you feel may not be failure. It may be your standards trying to rise. Many people run from that discomfort. They distract themselves, blame others, or lower expectations to avoid responsibility. But powerful people listen to it. They ask, "What part of my life needs a higher standard now?" That question can transform everything. Maybe your health needs a higher standard. No more treating the body like an afterthought. Maybe your focus needs a higher standard. No more surrendering every hour to distraction. Maybe your relationships need a higher standard. No more accepting disrespect, drama, or one-sided energy. Maybe your finances need a higher standard. No more spending to impress and stressing in silence. Maybe your self-talk needs a higher standard. No more speaking to yourself in ways you would never speak to someone you love. Sometimes the first sign of growth is not adding something new. It is refusing what no longer belongs. There is also a powerful connection between standards and confidence. Many people chase confidence through motivation, compliments, or external success, but the deepest confidence comes from self-trust. And self-trust is built when your behavior meets your standards. When you say you will wake early, and do it. When you say you will train, and do it. When you say you will finish the project, and do it. When you say you will protect your peace, and do it. Each time you honor your standard, confidence grows. Why? Because you prove to yourself that your word means something. A person who trusts themselves walks differently, speaks differently, and decides differently. This is why raising standards changes not only outcomes, but presence. You begin carrying certainty. Of course, people may resist the new version of you. Some will call you too serious, too ambitious, too disciplined, too selective. This often happens when your growth exposes their comfort. Do not shrink to make others comfortable. Not everyone will celebrate your elevation. Some benefited from your low standards. Some liked you distracted, available, insecure, and uncertain. Your growth changes access. That is healthy. Not everyone deserves the same version of you. Raising standards may cost convenience, certain habits, and some relationships. But low standards cost destiny. Choose your cost wisely. Another mistake people make is thinking higher standards require perfection. They do not. Perfection is rigid and unrealistic. Standards are about direction and consistency. You may miss a workout. You may make a mistake. You may have a weak day. That is human. The difference is that higher standards bring you back quickly. You do not live in the mistake. You correct course faster because the baseline has changed. A person with low standards says, "I slipped, so it doesn't matter." A person with high standards says, "I slipped, so I reset." That difference, repeated over months, creates extraordinary results. If you want to begin today, start by identifying one area where average has become tolerated. Be honest. Where have you normalized less than your potential? Where have excuses become routine? Where have you accepted what drains you? Where have you gone soft with yourself? Then set one new standard. Simple, clear, non-negotiable. Maybe it is, I move my body daily. I wake with intention. I save before I spend. I keep promises to myself. I do not entertain disrespect. I work on my goals every day. I speak to myself with strength. I finish what I start. Do not underestimate small standards. Great lives are built from repeated basics. The person who makes the bed may learn order. The person who wakes early may gain momentum. The person who reads daily may gain wisdom. The person who says no may gain freedom. Tiny standards become powerful identities, and identities shape futures. Picture your life 1 year from now. If you truly raised your standards, imagine the energy of a cleaner environment, stronger body, sharper focus, better finances, calmer mind, deeper discipline, and higher self-respect. Imagine waking up proud. Imagine not needing constant motivation because systems now carry you. Imagine becoming the person others describe as disciplined, focused, and powerful. That future does not begin when luck arrives. It begins the moment you refuse average. It begins when you stop asking what is easy and start asking what is worthy. It begins when you stop tolerating what weakens you. It begins when you decide your life deserves excellence. The world often teaches people to lower expectations to avoid disappointment. But there is another path. Raise your standards and become the kind of person who can meet them. That path is harder in the beginning, but easier in the end, because discipline creates freedom. Clarity creates peace. Strength creates options. Self-respect creates confidence. Average may feel comfortable now, but comfort without growth becomes quiet misery. Greatness asks more of you, but gives more back. So today, make a decision, not a loud promise, not a temporary burst of motivation. A real decision. Decide that the old normal is finished. Decide that your habits must match your goals. Decide that your environment must match your future. Decide that your choices must match your potential. Decide that your life will no longer be built by default. Raise the standard, then live it. Because greatness does not begin when the world believes in you. It begins the moment you refuse to remain average. Chapter 3. The Cost of Settling. Most people do not ruin their lives through one dramatic decision. They do it quietly, they do it slowly, they do it through small compromises, repeated over time. They settle a little in their standards. They settle a little in their discipline. They settle a little in their dreams. They settle a little in their relationships. They settle a little in the way they speak to themselves, the way they spend their time, and the way they use their gifts. At first, nothing seems serious. That is what makes settling so dangerous. It rarely feels costly in the beginning. In the beginning, settling feels convenient. It feels easier to stay in the job you dislike than to face uncertainty. It feels easier to avoid the workout than to challenge the body. It feels easier to remain silent than to speak truth. It feels easier to delay the dream than risk failure. It feels easier to stay average than to carry the responsibility of growth. In the short term, settling feels like relief, but in the long term, it becomes regret. This is the hidden law many people never learn. Short-term comfort often creates long-term pain. Every time you settle for less than what you know is possible, you pay a price. Sometimes the price is small. Sometimes it is enormous. Sometimes it is immediate. Sometimes it arrives years later, but it always arrives. Settling in health may feel harmless today. One missed walk, one delayed workout, one careless meal, one ignored warning sign, but repeated over years, that comfort can become weakness, fatigue, illness, and lost vitality. Settling in finances may feel harmless today. One emotional purchase, 1 month without saving, one habit of avoiding responsibility, but repeated over years, that comfort can become debt, anxiety, dependence, and limited freedom. Settling in relationships may feel harmless today. One more excuse for disrespect, one more season of emotional neglect, one more silence where honesty was needed, but repeated over years, that comfort can become loneliness, resentment, and heartbreak. Settling in purpose may feel harmless today. One more delay, one more year waiting, one more promise to start later. But repeated over years, that comfort can become the deepest pain of all. Unlived potential. There is a unique ache that comes from knowing you could have become more. Nothing weighs heavier than the life you almost lived. Many people think pain only comes from failure. But failure often teaches, sharpens, and redirects. There is another kind of pain that teaches less and haunts more. The pain of settling, the pain of watching time move while you remain unchanged, the pain of seeing others rise while you keep postponing, the pain of hearing your own excuses so many times that they begin sounding normal, the pain of becoming comfortable with dissatisfaction. That pain is quiet, but it is real. You may have seen people who look stable on the outside but feel empty within. Their bills are paid. Their routines are fixed. Their life appears respectable, yet something inside them has gone dim. Why? Because security without growth becomes a cage. Routine without purpose becomes numbness. Comfort without progress becomes stagnation. Human beings were not designed only to maintain. They were designed to expand, learn, create, contribute, and become. When that natural drive is ignored too long, the soul grows restless. This is why many people feel frustrated even when life seems fine. Fine is often the language of settling. Fine means nothing is collapsing, but nothing is truly alive. Fine means surviving without thriving. Fine means existing without evolving. And if you are honest, fine is not what your heart truly wants. Deep down, most people want meaning. They want growth. They want strength. They want impact. They want to feel proud of who they are becoming. But wanting those things is not enough. You must stop settling for what opposes them. The tragedy of settling is that it often disguises itself as maturity. People say things like, "This is just how life is." You have to be realistic. Dreams are for younger people. Not everyone gets to do what they love. At least it's safe. At least it's stable. Sometimes wisdom requires realism. But many times, realism is just fear wearing a respectable outfit. There is a difference between accepting reality and surrendering to limitation. One is mature, the other is costly. Settling often begins when people confuse temporary difficulty with permanent impossibility. They try once, fail, and lower standards. They face rejection and shrink their vision. They feel discomfort and assume the path is wrong. But discomfort does not always mean stop. Sometimes discomfort means grow. Sometimes the hard season is the doorway. Sometimes the challenge is shaping the person capable of receiving the next level. If you quit every time life becomes difficult, you will keep choosing the pain of comfort over the pain of growth. And make no mistake, comfort has pain too. It is simply delayed. Growth hurts now and rewards later. Settling rewards now and hurts later. Choose wisely. There is also a cost to your identity when you settle. Each time you betray your own standards, you weaken trust in yourself. If you repeatedly say, "I'll start tomorrow," and never do, part of you stops believing your own words. That damage is subtle but serious, because confidence is built through self-trust. When your promises mean nothing to yourself, your confidence erodes. You hesitate more, you doubt more, you shrink more. Not because you lack ability, but because you have trained yourself to expect inaction. This is why small acts of discipline matter so much. They repair trust. When you say you will wake early and do it. When you say you will train and do it. When you say you will save money and do it. When you say you will begin and do it. You tell yourself, "I can rely on me." That belief changes everything. Settling also affects those around you. Many people think their choices are personal, but growth has ripple effects. When you settle, your children may inherit lower standards. When you settle, your friends may normalize mediocrity. When you settle, your gifts remain unused. When you settle, the people who needed your courage never receive it. You may be carrying leadership you have not yet expressed. Your discipline could inspire someone. Your story could guide someone. Your business could employ someone. Your healing could free your family. Your growth is never only about you. Likewise, your settling is never only about you either. That truth is not meant to burden you. It is meant to awaken responsibility. You matter more than you think. Many people wait for motivation to stop settling, but motivation is unreliable. Some mornings it arrives, many mornings it does not. What changes lives is not motivation. It is standards. It is deciding that certain things are no longer acceptable. No longer acceptable to waste every evening. No longer acceptable to live disconnected from your body. No longer acceptable to complain without acting. No longer acceptable to remain in environments that diminish you. No longer acceptable to let fear make decisions. That decision creates momentum, and momentum creates change. If you feel stuck today, ask yourself an honest question. Where have I been settling? Not where have you struggled. Not where have you failed. Where have you knowingly accepted less than what you are capable of? That answer may be uncomfortable. Good. Truth often is. Maybe you have settled in your schedule, allowing distractions to consume your days. Maybe you have settled in your self-image, speaking weakness over yourself for years. Maybe you have settled in relationships that drain your spirit. Maybe you have settled financially, living reactively instead of intentionally. Maybe you have settled spiritually, living disconnected from meaning. Maybe you have settled in ambition, pretending you no longer care because caring feels risky. Whatever it is, awareness is power. You cannot change what you refuse to name. Once you identify where you have settled, do not drown in guilt. Guilt looks backward. Growth moves forward. Instead, make one bold decision. Raise one standard. Take one action. Change one pattern. Wake 30 minutes earlier. Walk every day. Apply for the opportunity. Start the side project. End the draining relationship. Read instead of scrolling. Save instead of spending emotionally. Speak the truth you have delayed. One action breaks the spell of settling. Then another. Then another. And soon, a new identity begins forming. You stop seeing yourself as passive. You start seeing yourself as capable. You stop seeing life as something happening to you. You start seeing life as something you can shape. This is how transformation begins. Not through giant dramatic moments, but through repeated refusal to settle. Imagine yourself 5 years from now. There are two versions. One kept choosing short-term comfort. Same habits, same excuses, same fears, same patterns. Life may look stable, but internally there is heaviness. Time passed, but little changed. The other version chose temporary discomfort, new habits, difficult conversations, consistent action, courageous risk, slow but steady growth. Life is stronger, freer, more meaningful, and more aligned. Both versions are built one day at a time. Both are available now. Your daily choices decide which future becomes real. Do not underestimate time. Time multiplies everything. Good habits compound. Bad habits compound. Discipline compounds. Delay compounds. Courage compounds. Settling compounds. What feels small today becomes destiny tomorrow. That is why today matters so much. Not because you must fix everything now, but because today is where the direction changes. Today is where the standard rises. Today is where the old story ends. You were not created merely to be comfortable. You were created to grow, to build, to love deeply, to use your gifts, to become stronger through challenge, wiser through experience, and more powerful through discipline. Comfort has its place. Rest has value. Peace matters. But when comfort becomes the reason you abandon growth, it becomes expensive. Too expensive. Do not trade your future for temporary ease. Do not trade your greatness for familiar habits. Do not trade your potential for convenience. One day, life will ask what you did with the years you were given. Let your answer be more than, "I stayed safe." Let it be, "I tried. I grew. I changed. I became. I refused to settle." Because the real cost of settling is not what you lose today. It is the extraordinary life you never allow yourself to live. Chapter 4. Building a Growth Identity. Most people try to change their lives by changing their actions. They make a new plan. They buy a notebook. They set goals. They create schedules. They promise themselves that this time will be different. For a few days, maybe even a few weeks, energy is high, motivation feels strong, progress begins. Then something happens. Life gets busy, stress returns, old habits call their name, discipline weakens, momentum fades. The person slowly slips back into familiar patterns and wonders why change never lasts. The answer is simple but powerful. Temporary action cannot defeat permanent identity. If you still see yourself as the same person, you will eventually return to the same behaviors. You may force change for a season, but identity always pulls habits back toward what feels normal. This is why many people repeatedly start over. They try to build new results with an old self-image. They want the habits of discipline while believing they are lazy. They want confidence while believing they are insecure. They want success while believing they are average. They want consistency while believing they always quit. No strategy can fully overcome an identity that contradicts it. Real transformation begins deeper than behavior. It begins when you become the type of person who continuously improves. That is called a growth identity. A growth identity is the belief that who you are today is not your final form. It is the understanding that skills can be developed, character can be strengthened, habits can be changed, and life can be elevated through repeated effort. It is the decision to stop defining yourself by your past and start defining yourself by your direction. Many people carry outdated labels like chains. I'm just bad with money. I've never been disciplined. I'm not smart enough. I'm too shy. I always procrastinate. I'm not a leader. These statements often feel true because they have been repeated for years. But most of them are not identities. They are histories. And history does not have to become destiny. Just because you were inconsistent does not mean you are permanently inconsistent. Just because you once lacked discipline does not mean discipline is unavailable to you. Just because you have struggled does not mean struggle is your identity. You are not your old patterns. You are the person capable of replacing them. This shift is everything. When someone says, "I'm trying to exercise," they are focused only on an action. When someone says, "I am becoming a healthy person," identity has entered the room. When someone says, "I'm trying to save money," they are forcing behavior. When someone says, "I am becoming financially disciplined," identity begins leading behavior. When someone says, "I'm trying to be confident," they are chasing a feeling. When someone says, "I am becoming someone who keeps promises to myself," confidence starts forming naturally. Identity is powerful because people naturally act in ways that feel consistent with who they believe they are. If you believe you are careless, you will act carelessly. If you believe you are weak, you will avoid challenge. If you believe you are improving, you will look for growth. If you believe you are disciplined, you will begin honoring structure. This is why building a growth identity changes everything from the inside out. It shifts the question from, "What do I need to do today?" to "Who am I becoming through what I do today?" That question creates depth. It creates meaning in ordinary actions. Waking early is no longer just waking early. It is evidence that you are becoming focused. Reading 10 pages is no longer just reading. It is evidence that you are becoming wiser. Saving money is no longer just saving money. It is evidence that you are becoming responsible. Working out is no longer just exercise. It is evidence that you are becoming strong. Each small action becomes a vote for a new identity. This means change does not require perfection. It requires repetition. Every time you act in alignment with growth, you reinforce the story that you are someone who grows. Every time you keep your word, you reinforce trust. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you reinforce strength. Every time you learn from failure instead of collapsing under it, you reinforce resilience. These moments may seem small, but identity is built in small moments repeated consistently. Think about a tree. It does not become strong overnight. It grows ring by ring, season by season, storm by storm. Your character develops the same way. Many people want dramatic transformation, but lasting growth is usually quiet. It is waking up when you said you would. It is finishing tasks when no one is watching. It is choosing maturity when emotion wants chaos. It is returning after setbacks. It is learning instead of blaming. It is staying committed when excitement fades. This is how strong identities are formed. One of the greatest obstacles to a growth identity is attachment to the old self. Sometimes people unconsciously protect the version of themselves they have outgrown. They keep telling the same old story. This is just how I am. I've always been like this. You know me. I never follow through. I'm not one of those disciplined people. Be careful with jokes and repeated labels. Many people imprison themselves with words they casually speak. Language shapes identity. What you repeatedly say about yourself becomes easier to believe. Instead of saying, I'm lazy, say, I'm learning discipline. Instead of saying, I'm a mess, say, I'm becoming organized. Instead of saying, I always fail, say, I'm building resilience. Instead of saying, I'm behind, say, I'm in progress. This is not fake positivity. It is responsible self-direction. Words matter because they influence what actions feel possible. Another key part of a growth identity is learning to love progress more than perfection. Perfectionism destroys many good beginnings. People think if they cannot do something flawlessly, they should not start at all. So they wait, they delay, they overthink, they remain stuck. Growth-minded people understand something different. Imperfect action teaches more than perfect planning. They start small. They improve gradually. They adjust as they go. They are willing to be beginners. That humility creates momentum. You do not need to be impressive on day one. You need to be committed long enough to improve. A growth identity also changes how you view failure. Without it, failure feels personal. I failed, so I must be a failure. With a growth identity, failure becomes information. That attempt did not work. What can I learn? This mindset is powerful because it removes shame from the learning process. It allows you to continue where others quit. It lets you use setbacks as stepping stones instead of walls. Every successful person you admire has likely failed more than many people have even attempted. They simply refuse to let failure define identity. You must do the same. There will be days when progress feels slow, days when habits break, days when doubt returns, days when old patterns whisper loudly. This does not mean you are going backward. It means you are human. Growth is not a straight line. It is a climb with slips, pauses, and restarts. The key is not never falling. The key is never confusing a fall with your identity. You are not the mistake. You are the person learning from it. You are not the setback. You are the person rising from it. You are not your lowest moment. You are your next decision. If you want to build a growth identity starting now, begin with 3 simple practices. First, keep small promises to yourself. Do what you said you would do, even in minor things. Make the bed. Walk for 10 minutes. Finish one task. Wake on time. These acts build self-trust. Second, measure progress, not perfection. Ask daily, did I move forward? Even one step matters. Third, speak to yourself like someone under construction. Not broken, not finished, being built. That mindset creates patience and persistence. Imagine who you could become in 1 year if you truly embraced growth identity. A person who reads regularly, a person who handles emotions wisely, a person who follows through, a person who learns quickly, a person who keeps improving physically, mentally, financially, spiritually, a person others trust because they trust themselves. This future is not reserved for special people. It belongs to ordinary people who decide to stop living from fixed labels. The world often rewards visible success, but invisible identity is where visible success begins. Before achievements arrive publicly, character is built privately. Before confidence is seen, self-respect is practiced. Before leadership is recognized, responsibility is chosen. Before greatness is admired, growth is repeated in silence. So do not underestimate the power of becoming. You do not need to transform overnight. You do not need everyone to notice. You do not need to have it all figured out. You simply need to decide that stagnation is no longer your story. That each day you will become a little wiser, a little stronger, a little calmer, a little more disciplined, a little more aligned, a little more powerful. Because identity compounds just like habits. The person who improves 1% daily becomes unrecognizable over time. And one day, you will look back at the version of you who doubted change was possible. You will feel gratitude because that person did one brave thing. They stopped asking, "Can I change?" and started declaring, "I am becoming." That is the beginning of a new life. Not when circumstances change, not when motivation arrives, not when the world approves, but the moment you choose to become the type of person who continuously improves. Chapter 5. Embracing Hard Work and Sacrifice. Many people admire success without understanding its price. They see the finished result, but not the unfinished nights. They see the trophy, but not the training. They see the business, but not the years of uncertainty. They see the confidence, but not the battles fought in private. They see the strong body, but not the mornings of discipline. They see the calm leader, but not the seasons of pressure that shaped composure. The world often celebrates what is visible, but success is usually built in what no one sees. This is why so many people misunderstand achievement. They believe winners were lucky, gifted, connected, or naturally confident. Sometimes those things play a role, but more often, visible success rests on invisible foundations. Hard work, sacrifice, consistency, patience, rejection, repetition, and resilience. The applause is public. The payment was private. Every meaningful result carries a cost. There is no life without trade-offs. The question is not whether you will sacrifice. The question is what you will sacrifice for. Some sacrifice health for comfort. Some sacrifice dreams for approval. Some sacrifice potential for distraction. Some sacrifice freedom for instant pleasure. Others choose a different path. They sacrifice ease for growth. They sacrifice temporary comfort for long-term reward. They sacrifice entertainment for mastery. They sacrifice ego for learning. They sacrifice excuses for discipline. Those choices create different futures. Many people want extraordinary results with ordinary effort. They want strength without training, wealth without patience, confidence without challenge, influence without service, mastery without repetition, freedom without responsibility. But life rarely works that way. You cannot harvest what you refuse to plant. Hard work is not punishment. It is the process through which potential becomes reality. It is the bridge between desire and accomplishment. It is how dreams stop being imagination and start becoming substance. When you work hard with purpose, something powerful happens. You are not only changing circumstances, you are changing yourself. Hard work builds more than outcomes. It builds character. It teaches discipline when motivation fades. It teaches patience when results are slow. It teaches humility when mistakes happen. It teaches grit when life gets heavy. It teaches confidence because you begin trusting your own effort. That confidence is different from shallow confidence based on praise. It is rooted confidence, the kind that comes from knowing you can endure, adapt, and keep going. No one can hand you that kind of confidence. It must be earned. There is a reason many successful people carry quiet certainty. They know what they survived to get there. They remember the mornings no one applauded. They remember the doors that closed. They remember working while others relaxed. They remember failing, adjusting, and trying again. They remember sacrifice. That memory becomes strength. Sacrifice is often misunderstood. Many imagine sacrifice means misery or losing everything enjoyable. But true sacrifice is simply giving up something lower for something higher. It is choosing what matters most over what feels good now. It is saying no to one thing so you can say yes to something greater. You sacrifice sleep occasionally to build your future. You sacrifice comfort to strengthen your body. You sacrifice distraction to sharpen your focus. You sacrifice pride to ask for help. You sacrifice short-term pleasure to create long-term peace. That is not loss. That is investment. Imagine two people with the same talent. One uses spare hours learning, building, practicing, and improving. The other uses spare hours scrolling, complaining, and waiting. After 5 years, the difference may look dramatic. People will call one person talented. But often, the real difference was sacrifice repeated quietly over time. This is why comparing outcomes without comparing habits is dangerous. You may envy someone's chapter 10, while ignoring the effort they invested in chapters 1 through 9. Visible success can be deceiving because the hard part usually happened earlier. By the time the world notices, the real battle has already been fought. The entrepreneur celebrated online may have endured years of doubt. The athlete on stage may have sacrificed countless comforts. The author praised for wisdom may have spent years reading, thinking, and rewriting. The leader respected publicly may have developed privately through pain and responsibility. Do not be fooled by the highlight. Honor the hidden work. There will be moments when hard work feels lonely. You may be improving while others misunderstand you. You may be saying no while others indulge. You may be building quietly while others chase attention. Stay steady. Seeds grow underground before they break the surface. Some seasons of effort look invisible. That does not mean they are unimportant. In fact, invisible seasons often create visible breakthroughs later. Another truth about hard work is that it does not always pay immediately. This frustrates many people. They expect instant rewards. They work for a week and want transformation. They save for a month and want wealth. They practice for a short season and want mastery. But meaningful success often operates through delayed rewards. You plant now. You water now. You protect now. You wait now. Then later, growth appears. This is where many quit too early. They abandon the process because results are not yet visible. They mistake silence for failure. But roots grow in silence. Muscle grows in recovery. Wisdom grows through repetition. Trust grows through consistency. Momentum grows through persistence. Some of the most important progress cannot be seen immediately. You must learn to respect unseen progress. Hard work also reveals priorities. Everyone says certain things matter: family, health, dreams, growth, contribution. But effort exposes truth. What you repeatedly work for shows what you truly value. If you say your future matters, but never prepare for it, the statement is weak. If you say health matters, but never invest in it, the intention is incomplete. If you say purpose matters, but never act on it, the dream remains distant. Love is shown through action. So are priorities. This is not about becoming obsessed with work or neglecting balance. Some people misuse ambition and destroy peace, chasing endless achievement. That is not wisdom either. The goal is not constant exhaustion. The goal is meaningful effort. Work hard on what matters. Rest with intention. Recover without guilt. Then return stronger. Hard work becomes unhealthy when it is disconnected from values. But when connected to purpose, it becomes noble. A parent working to create stability, an artist practicing to express truth, a student studying to change family history, a founder building something useful, a person healing to stop passing pain forward. That kind of effort carries dignity. Sacrifice becomes easier when you remember why it matters. Many people fail not because they are incapable, but because they lose connection to purpose. They only focus on discomfort. Early mornings feel painful. Training feels tiring. Budgeting feels restrictive. Learning feels slow. But when purpose is clear, pain gains meaning. The workout becomes protection for your future body. The savings become freedom. The studying becomes opportunity. The discipline becomes self-respect. Meaning transforms effort. If you currently resist hard work, ask yourself honestly, do I dislike effort, or have I forgotten why it matters? Sometimes you do not need more motivation. You need a stronger reason. Another hidden gift of sacrifice is clarity. When you say no to lower priorities, life becomes less noisy. Focus returns. Energy returns. Momentum returns. Every yes costs something. Say yes to distraction, and you say no to progress. Say yes to laziness, and you say no to growth. Say yes to excuses, and you say no to power. Say yes to discipline, and you say no to regret. Choose consciously. Imagine yourself 5 years from now. One version consistently chose comfort. They protected ease, avoided sacrifice, and delayed effort. Life may feel familiar, but many possibilities were never built. Another version embraced disciplined work. They trained when inconvenient, learned when tired, stayed consistent when unseen, and sacrificed wisely. Their life now carries strength, options, confidence, and pride. Neither future happened suddenly. Both were earned daily. You are earning one right now. The beautiful truth is that you do not need to become extreme overnight. Hard work begins with ordinary choices made repeatedly. Wake when you said you would. Do the task you keep avoiding. Move your body. Read instead of wasting an hour. Save instead of impulse spending. Practice your craft. Keep your word. Repeat tomorrow. These acts seem small, but small disciplined acts create powerful identities. You become someone who can be counted on. Someone who finishes. Someone who grows. Someone who earns trust from themselves. And once self-trust is built, everything changes. Remember this: success is not expensive because the reward is costly. It is expensive because the person receiving it must be capable of carrying it. Hard work and sacrifice shape that person. Without discipline, success can be wasted. Without character, opportunity can be lost. Without resilience, pressure can break you. So the struggle is not always delaying your blessing. Sometimes it is preparing you for it. Do not resent the hidden work season. Do not hate the sacrifice season. Do not despise the slow season. These seasons often contain the ingredients of your future strength. One day, people may admire what you built. They may compliment your confidence, results, peace, body, wealth, wisdom, or influence. They will see the visible reward, but you will remember the invisible price. You will remember the mornings, the discipline, the sacrifices, the repeated effort, the days you continued without applause, and in that moment, success will feel sweeter. Because what is earned carries a different value than what is given. So embrace hard work, honor sacrifice, respect the process. Because behind every visible victory is a private season where someone decided that comfort would no longer control their destiny. Chapter 6: Mastering Focus and Consistency. Success is rarely lost in one dramatic moment. It is usually lost in fragments. A few wasted minutes here, a distracted afternoon there, another promise delayed, another important task postponed, another day spent reacting instead of creating, another week consumed by noise instead of progress. Life is often shaped not by catastrophe, but by distraction. This is the silent battle of the modern world. Never before have so many people had access to opportunity, information, and tools. Yet never before have so many struggled to direct their own attention. Minds are crowded. Notifications compete for every second. Endless entertainment waits one tap away. Urgent but unimportant tasks pull energy from meaningful work, and many people wonder why they feel busy but unfulfilled. The answer is simple. Attention is being spent without intention. Where focus goes, life follows. Your future is built by what receives your repeated attention. If your focus belongs to chaos, comparison, gossip, fear, and distraction, your life begins reflecting those things. If your focus belongs to growth, discipline, creation, learning, and purpose, your life begins reflecting those instead. Focus is more than concentration. It is direction. Consistency is more than repetition. It is loyalty to that direction. Together, focus and consistency become one of the most powerful forces in achievement. Talent without focus becomes scattered. Motivation without consistency fades quickly. Ambition without disciplined attention becomes fantasy. But ordinary effort, focused consistently, can create extraordinary results. This truth is often overlooked because people search for dramatic breakthroughs. They want one big opportunity, one perfect plan, one lucky moment. Yet many lives are transformed not by one giant leap, but by many steady steps. A person who writes 1 hour daily finishes books. A person who trains regularly transforms their body. A person who saves consistently builds freedom. A person who studies daily gains mastery. A person who shows up repeatedly becomes trusted, skilled, and respected. The magic is not always intensity. The magic is consistency. Why do so many struggle with this? Because distraction offers immediate reward while consistency offers delayed reward. Scrolling feels easier than studying. Comfort feels easier than discipline. Entertainment feels easier than effort. Checking messages feels easier than doing deep work. The mind naturally drifts toward what feels pleasurable now. But growth belongs to those who can choose what matters later over what feels easy now. This is the daily battle, and it is won one decision at a time. Many people imagine focus as something reserved for highly disciplined personalities. They believe some people are simply naturally focused. But focus is less about personality and more about environment, habits, and values. Most people do not have an attention problem. They have an access problem. Too many distractions have unlimited access to their mind. If your phone interrupts every few minutes, focus suffers. If your day begins reactively, focus weakens. If your environment is cluttered, focus scatters. If you never decide priorities, distractions decide them for you. This means mastering focus often begins not by becoming stronger, but by becoming wiser. Remove what pulls you away, protect what pulls you forward. Create space for concentration. Simplify the battlefield. A powerful morning can help shape the day. The first hour after waking often sets emotional and mental momentum. Many people surrender that hour immediately to noise, messages, news, scrolling, comparison, stress. Before they have directed their own mind, the world has already entered it. Imagine a different beginning. Wake with intention. Move your body. Pray or reflect. Read something strengthening. Write priorities. Begin meaningful work early. That one shift can change the tone of the entire day. Focus grows when purpose is clear. When people do not know what matters, everything feels equally urgent. They bounce between tasks, respond to every request, and chase whatever feels pressing. But clarity creates power. Ask yourself each morning, what truly matters today? What one task would move life forward most? What deserves my best energy? When you know the answer, you stop wandering. Consistency also requires realism. Many people fail because they create unsustainable systems. They promise themselves extreme routines they cannot maintain. They chase intensity for a week, then collapse. Better to do something manageable daily than something heroic briefly. 30 minutes every day beats 5 hours once in a while. 10 pages daily beats buying books you never read. One workout repeated weekly beats one exhausting burst, followed by quitting. Small done consistently becomes big over time. The world celebrates dramatic effort, but life rewards repeated effort. There will be days when motivation disappears. This is where consistency separates itself from emotion. If you only act when inspired, progress becomes unstable. Some weeks you soar, other weeks you disappear. Consistency says, I show up whether I feel like it or not. I honor commitments even when mood changes. I continue because identity matters more than emotion. This mindset is life-changing. The disciplined person still has low-energy days. They still feel resistance. They still get distracted. The difference is, they return quickly. They do not make a bad day into a bad month. They do not let one mistake become surrender. They reset faster. That ability alone creates massive advantage. Another enemy of focus is multitasking. Many people pride themselves on doing several things at once, but divided attention usually creates average results everywhere. Deep work requires depth. Important tasks deserve full presence. When working, work fully. When resting, rest fully. When listening, listen fully. When training, train fully. Scattered energy weakens experience and results. Presence strengthens both. Comparison is another hidden distraction. Many minds are consumed not by their own mission, but by watching others. They track someone else's timeline, success, appearance, money, or opportunities. This drains creative energy and breeds insecurity. Someone else's lane is not your assignment. Every minute spent obsessing over another person's journey is a minute stolen from building your own. Refocus. Your mission needs your attention more than their progress does. Consistency becomes easier when tied to identity. Do not just say, I want to work out. Say, I am a person who trains. Do not just say, I want to write. Say, I am a creator who writes daily. Do not just say, I want to be organized. Say, I am someone who lives intentionally. When behavior becomes part of identity, discipline feels less like punishment and more like alignment. You are simply acting like the person you have chosen to become. There will be seasons when progress feels invisible. This is where many quit. They do the right things for a short time, see little reward, and assume it is pointless. But much of life grows beneath the surface first. Roots before fruit, strength before appearance, skill before recognition, trust before opportunity, momentum before breakthrough. Never underestimate unseen progress. The day you feel like nothing is happening may be the day consistency is quietly building your future. To win the battle against distractions, create simple rules. Maybe it means no phone during first hour of morning. Maybe it means 1 hour of focused work before checking messages. Maybe it means setting time limits on entertainment. Maybe it means planning tomorrow before sleeping. Maybe it means keeping your workspace clean. Maybe it means carrying a notebook instead of relying on scattered memory. Rules reduce decision fatigue. What is scheduled gets done. What is vague gets delayed. Protect your energy as well. Focus is not only mental, it is physical and emotional. Poor sleep, constant stress, weak boundaries, and burnout make concentration difficult. Rest is not laziness when it prepares you to perform. Recovery supports consistency. Burnout destroys it. Balance effort with restoration. Imagine two people over the next 3 years. One lives reactively. Their days are driven by distractions, mood interruptions, and impulse. They are often busy, often tired, often behind. The other lives intentionally. They focus daily on meaningful priorities. They work steadily. They improve quietly. They guard attention. They remain consistent. At the end of 3 years, the gap may appear enormous, but the gap was built day by day. This is why today matters. Not because you need perfection, but because today becomes pattern, and pattern becomes destiny. If you have struggled with inconsistency, do not label yourself broken. Many people simply never learned how to structure attention. Skills can be built, habits can be redesigned, discipline can be practiced. Start smaller than pride wants, but stronger than excuses allow. Choose one key habit, protect one focused hour. Complete one important task daily. Return after every slip. Repeat long enough for identity to change. Soon you stop seeing yourself as distracted. You start seeing yourself as dependable. You stop seeing yourself as chaotic. You start seeing yourself as intentional. You stop needing constant motivation. You become a person who follows through. That transformation is priceless, because opportunities trust consistency. Success respects focus. Confidence follows reliability, and peace often comes when your attention is no longer being stolen by everything around you. Remember this: every day life asks where your attention will go. To noise or purpose, to impulse or intention, to comfort or growth, to distraction or destiny. Choose carefully. Your attention is your life in pieces. Where you place it repeatedly determines what your life becomes. So master focus, honor consistency, win the daily battle. Because extraordinary lives are not usually built in rare moments of greatness, they are built in ordinary days when someone chose to concentrate on what mattered and kept doing it long after others stopped. Chapter 7. Turning setbacks into comebacks. Every life will meet resistance. No matter how talented, disciplined, intelligent, or prepared a person may be, setbacks are unavoidable. Plans will fail, doors will close, efforts will go unnoticed. Trust may be broken, money may be lost, health may be challenged, progress may slow, dreams may seem delayed. This is not evidence that life is against you. It is evidence that you are alive. Many people are surprised by difficulty, as if hardship means they chose the wrong path. They assume success should feel smooth, growth should feel easy, and meaningful goals should arrive without struggle. But nearly every worthwhile journey includes obstacles. The difference between those who rise and those who remain stuck is not that some never fail. It is that some learn how to use failure. A setback can become a stopping point or a stepping stone. The event may be painful, disappointing, and unwanted, but what happens next often determines whether it becomes tragedy or transformation. Some people fall and create a story around the fall. I'm not good enough. This always happens to me. I should have known better. It's too late now. They turn one moment into identity. One mistake becomes a definition. One rejection becomes proof of unworthiness. Others respond differently. They hurt, but they learn. They grieve, but they grow. They pause, but they continue. They ask, "What is this experience trying to teach me?" That question can change everything. Failure is a brutal teacher, but often an honest one. It reveals weak systems, shallow preparation, poor timing, wrong assumptions, emotional immaturity, misplaced trust, or skills still needing development. Painful feedback can become powerful wisdom if pride does not reject it. Many people want the reward of success without the refining process that often produces it. But strength is rarely born in comfort. It is forged in pressure. The athlete becomes stronger through resistance. The leader becomes wiser through mistakes. The entrepreneur becomes sharper through losses. The person healing emotionally becomes deeper through heartbreak. The setback may feel like destruction in the moment, but sometimes it is construction in disguise. Think of a seed buried underground. From the outside, it appears hidden, covered and trapped. Yet below the surface, roots are forming. What looks like burial may actually be planting. Some seasons in life feel like burial. You feel unseen. You feel delayed. You feel disappointed. You feel buried beneath problems. But if you remain faithful to growth, that same season may become the place roots are built. Setbacks often strip illusions. They remove false confidence, careless habits, weak foundations, and shallow priorities. While painful, this can be a gift. Better to discover cracks now than after greater success places more weight on them. Imagine building a tall tower on weak ground. Collapse becomes inevitable. Sometimes failure early saves you from disaster later. There are people who thank life years later for doors that once closed painfully. The relationship that ended forced self-discovery. The job loss created a new path. The rejection built resilience. The failure inspired mastery. The setback redirected destiny. At the time, they could not see it. Pain narrows perspective, but time often reveals meaning. This does not mean every setback is good. Some losses are heartbreaking. Some disappointments wound deeply. Some seasons are genuinely hard. But even painful experiences can carry usable lessons. You may not control what happened. You can control what it becomes. That is power. One of the most dangerous responses to failure is shame. Shame says, "I failed, therefore I am a failure." It attaches identity to outcome. Once that happens, people stop trying not because they lack potential, but because they fear feeling worthless again. Reject that lie. You are not your worst moment. You are not your mistake. You are not the rejection letter, the failed attempt, the lost season, the broken plan, or the chapter that hurt. You are the person who still gets to decide the next chapter. That distinction matters. A person can lose money and still be wise. Lose a relationship and still be lovable. Lose a competition and still be gifted. Lose time and still begin again. Circumstances change. Worth does not. Another common mistake is expecting comeback stories to feel exciting. In truth, comebacks are often ordinary in the beginning. They rarely start with dramatic speeches or instant victory. They begin quietly, getting out of bed when discouraged, sending one more application, taking one walk after months of neglect, making one honest apology, saving the first small amount, returning to practice, trying again while still doubting. Comebacks are built in humble actions. Many people miss their comeback because they are waiting for a dramatic feeling. They think they need to feel ready, inspired, fearless, or certain before restarting. But readiness often comes after movement. Courage grows through action, not before it. Take the step first. Strength often meets you there. Setbacks also reveal character. Success can hide flaws for a while. Failure exposes what remains when applause disappears. Do you blame or reflect? Quit or adapt? Collapse or rebuild? Complain or learn? Pressure reveals what comfort conceals, and once revealed, you can improve it. This is one reason some people become stronger after hardship than they ever were before it. The challenge forced growth they would have postponed in easier times. The person who never faced rejection may stay fragile. The person who survived it becomes bold. The person who never struggled may remain shallow. The person who endured becomes deep. The person who never failed may depend on luck. The person who learned from failure depends on skill. Do not envy lives untouched by challenge. Sometimes, smooth paths create weak foundations. Your scars may become strength. If you are in a setback season right now, there are powerful questions to ask. What is this teaching me? What weakness is being exposed? What skill must I build now? What belief must I release? What matters most in this season? Who can I become through this? These questions move you from victimhood to growth. Victimhood asks, "Why me?" Growth asks, "What now?" One drains power, the other restores it. There is also wisdom in allowing yourself to feel disappointment without living there permanently. You are human. Loss hurts. Rejection stings. Failure frustrates. Grief is real. Feel it honestly. But do not build a home inside the pain. Visit the emotion, learn from it, then keep walking. Some people stay trapped, not because the setback was too large, but because they made pain their identity. They became the person who was hurt, the person who failed, the person life treated unfairly. Be careful with identities built from wounds. Healing often begins when you decide you are more than what happened. Consistency matters greatly during comeback seasons. You may not be able to rebuild everything quickly, but you can rebuild something daily. One healthy meal, 1 hour of study, one honest conversation, one workout, 1 page written, 1 application sent, 1 prayer, 1 step repeated long enough becomes momentum. Momentum restores hope because it proves movement is possible again. Imagine 2 people after a major setback. One withdraws, complains, blames, and gives up internally. Time passes, but pain remains active because nothing new is being built. The other hurts too, but begins again slowly. They learn, adjust, and take daily action. Time passes, and pain becomes wisdom because growth has been added to the story. The same storm hit both. Response created the difference. This is your reminder that endings are often disguised beginnings. What feels finished may simply be transforming. What feels lost may be making room. What feels delayed may be preparing depth. Do not make permanent decisions in temporary pain. Some of your clearest thinking will return after the emotion settles. Some of your greatest opportunities may emerge from what first looked like defeat. Some of the strongest version of you may be born in the season you wanted to escape. Trust the process enough to stay in motion. And remember this: failure is only final when you refuse to learn. Defeat is only permanent when you refuse to rise. A setback is only a stopping point when you decide not to continue. But if you choose to learn, adapt, and move again, the story changes. Then the loss becomes wisdom. The rejection becomes redirection. The pain becomes power. The setback becomes setup. And the person who once doubted whether they could recover becomes living proof that resilience can rebuild what disappointment tried to destroy. One day you may tell the story of this hard season with gratitude, not because it was easy, not because it was pleasant, but because it forced you to become someone stronger, wiser, humbler, and more capable than comfort ever could have created. So rise again, slowly if needed, quietly if necessary, imperfectly if required, but rise. Because some of the greatest victories in life are not first-time successes. They are the comeback stories written by people who refuse to let failure have the final word. Chapter 8: Surrounding yourself with excellence. Many people try to change their lives while remaining in the same environment that keeps them unchanged. They want discipline while surrounded by distraction. They want confidence while surrounded by negativity. They want growth while surrounded by comfort. They want greatness while surrounded by mediocrity. They want peace while surrounded by chaos. Then they wonder why progress feels so difficult. The truth is simple and powerful. Environment matters more than most people realize. Your surroundings are always shaping you, quietly, consistently, and often invisibly. The people around you influence your standards. The conversations around you influence your thinking. The habits around you influence your behavior. The expectations around you influence your identity. You may believe you are making independent choices, but human beings absorb more from their environment than they notice. This is why some people rise quickly after entering healthier spaces, while others stay stuck for years in places that normalize stagnation. Seeds matter, but so does soil. A seed with potential placed in poor soil struggles to grow. The same seed placed in rich soil can flourish. Human potential works similarly. Talent alone is not always enough. Mindset alone is not always enough. Desire alone is not always enough. You must also consider the environment feeding or starving your growth. Look closely at your daily life. What kind of conversations surround you? What kind of standards are normal around you? What behaviors are praised? What attitudes are contagious? What energy fills the room? What future is being modeled? These questions matter because normal is powerful. People tend to drift toward what feels normal in their environment. If laziness is normal, discipline feels extreme. If gossip is normal, depth feels rare. If complaining is normal, gratitude feels unnatural. If average thinking is normal, ambition feels uncomfortable. But when excellence becomes normal, something changes. Growth feels expected. Discipline feels natural. Learning feels exciting. Responsibility feels attractive. Ambition feels possible. This is the hidden gift of strong environments. They make greatness feel real. There are rooms where everyone complains, and there are rooms where everyone builds. There are circles where excuses are celebrated and circles where accountability is respected. There are environments where people shrink dreams and environments where people sharpen them. Choose carefully because eventually what surrounds you begins entering you. This does not mean you must abandon everyone or judge those on different paths. It means you must become conscious of influence. Not every kind person is good for your future. Not every familiar place is healthy for your growth. Not every comfortable environment is productive. Love people, but understand influence. Some friendships are based entirely on shared stagnation. The bond survives only as long as no one changes. The moment one person becomes disciplined, ambitious, sober-minded, or growth-focused, tension appears. Why? Because growth disrupts the comfort of those committed to staying the same. If your progress threatens a relationship, ask whether the relationship was built on love or limitation. Real friends may challenge you, but they do not resent your elevation. They celebrate your discipline. They encourage your dreams. They tell you truth. They inspire higher standards. They become stronger as you grow stronger. That kind of environment is priceless. One conversation with a wise person can shift your direction. One mentor can save you years. One disciplined friend can raise your standards. One ambitious room can wake sleeping potential. One healthy relationship can heal old patterns. Never underestimate the power of who you regularly allow near your mind. Environment is not only people, it is also physical space. Your room affects clarity. Your desk affects focus. Your home affects emotional energy. Your digital environment affects attention. Your schedule affects identity. Clutter can create stress. Chaos can create fatigue. Constant noise can scatter thought. Endless digital stimulation can weaken patience and concentration. Sometimes the next level of your life begins with cleaning a room, organizing a desk, deleting distractions, or creating a calm place to think. External order often supports internal order. This is why successful people frequently design environments intentionally. They do not rely only on willpower. They remove temptation. They simplify decisions. They place tools for success within reach. Healthy food visible, books accessible, workout clothes ready, calendar planned, phone limits set, workspace prepared. They understand a truth many ignore. Discipline is easier in a designed environment. If junk food fills the house, resisting becomes harder. If distractions stay open all day, focus becomes harder. If negative voices dominate every conversation, optimism becomes harder. If no standards exist around you, excellence becomes harder. Do not make life harder than necessary. Build spaces that support the person you want to become. There is also a psychological force in proximity. When you spend time around people doing what you dream of doing, your mind expands. Possibility becomes tangible. The entrepreneur begins believing business is possible. The athlete sees discipline firsthand. The artist sees creativity as a lifestyle. The leader learns calm responsibility. The financially wise person learns stewardship. What once seemed distant becomes visible, and what is visible becomes believable. Many people stay small simply because they have never seen bigger lived up close. If you cannot physically access high-level environments yet, create them mentally. Books can become mentors. Audiobooks can become companions. Interviews can become classrooms. Online communities can become bridges. Podcasts can bring wisdom into your daily routine. You may not control every environment immediately, but you can begin upgrading influence today. Be intentional with what enters your ears. Be selective with what enters your eyes. Be protective of what enters your mind. Repeated inputs shape identity. Another challenge arises when people outgrow old environments. Growth can feel lonely at first. The old circle may no longer fit, but the new one has not yet formed. This in-between season can be uncomfortable. Stay faithful. Temporary loneliness is often part of elevation. Do not return to limiting spaces simply because they are familiar. Familiarity and alignment are not the same thing. Sometimes growth requires walking alone for a season until healthier connections appear. Use that season wisely. Build yourself. Strengthen habits. Deepen values. Clarify purpose. Then when the right people arrive, you are ready. You must also become the kind of environment others need. Many people ask, "Who is around me?" but forget to ask, "What energy do I bring?" Do you spread excuses or encouragement? Do you drain rooms or elevate them? Do you gossip or grow? Do you react emotionally or bring steadiness? Do you inspire action or normalize delay? Become excellent company. The world needs more people whose presence raises standards. When you embody discipline, others notice. When you speak with depth, others feel it. When you pursue growth consistently, others are challenged quietly. When you bring integrity, trust grows around you. You do not need to be perfect to become positive influence. You simply need to live consciously. Imagine two people over the next 5 years. One remains in environments of distraction, negativity, low standards, and reactive living. They may mean well, but slowly absorb what surrounds them. The other intentionally chooses spaces of learning, accountability, discipline, and ambition. They consume wisdom, build structure, and connect with growth-minded people. Over time, the gap becomes significant. Not because one was more talented, because one was more intentional about environment. This is hopeful news. You may not change your past, but you can begin changing what shapes your future. Audit your surroundings honestly. Which voices weaken you? Which spaces drain you? Which habits are being normalized around you? Which inputs are stealing attention? Which relationships encourage your highest self? Which rooms awaken ambition? Which environments bring peace and power? Then make adjustments, small if needed, necessary if possible. Spend more time where growth lives. Spend less time where stagnation spreads. Protect mornings, curate inputs, seek mentors, find disciplined people, create clean spaces, honor boundaries, choose rooms where your future feels nourished. Remember this, it is difficult to think abundantly in environments addicted to lack. It is difficult to stay focused in environments built on chaos. It is difficult to grow boldly in environments committed to average. But it is easier to rise when excellence surrounds you. You do not need a perfect world. You need a supportive one. You do not need everyone to understand you. You need enough wisdom around you to stay aligned. You do not need endless motivation. You need environments that make the right choices easier. So choose carefully, because your surroundings are never neutral. They are either pulling you upward or downward, either sharpening your ambition or softening it, either feeding your discipline or draining it, either shaping your greatness or delaying it. And one of the most powerful decisions you may ever make is this: to surround yourself with excellence until excellence begins to feel like home. Chapter 9. Becoming Unstoppable. Many people want an easier life, fewer problems, less pressure, no setbacks, no criticism, no uncertainty, no pain. They imagine that if life became smoother, they would finally feel strong, peaceful, and successful. But strength is rarely built through ease. Confidence is rarely born in comfort. Resilience is rarely developed in perfect conditions. The truth is that becoming unstoppable does not mean creating a life with no obstacles. It means becoming the kind of person obstacles cannot easily stop. That is a very different goal. Most people focus on controlling circumstances. They spend years trying to arrange life, so nothing difficult happens. But life is unpredictable. Challenges come without permission. Markets change. People disappoint. Plans fail. Bodies get tired. Seasons shift. Unexpected storms arrive. If your peace depends on perfect conditions, peace will remain fragile. If your confidence depends on constant success, confidence will remain shallow. If your motivation depends on easy days, motivation will disappear often. Real power is built another way. It is built internally. An unstoppable person may still feel pain, fear, fatigue, and disappointment. They are still human. They still have difficult days. They still experience loss and doubt. The difference is this: they keep moving. They bend without breaking. They fall without staying down. They feel emotion without surrendering direction. They adapt. They recover. They rise again. This chapter is about becoming that kind of person. Resilience is the ability to continue after hardship. It is not pretending nothing hurts. It is not smiling through every wound. It is not emotional numbness. Resilience is recovery. It is the power to absorb impact and return stronger, wiser, or steadier. Think of a tree during a storm. The rigid branch may snap. The rooted tree bends and survives. Many people confuse toughness with hardness, but some of the strongest things in life are flexible. Resilient people are not unfeeling. They are adaptive. They allow pain to pass through them without letting it define them. They grieve losses, then rebuild. They feel fear, then act wisely. They face setbacks, then learn. They understand that temporary suffering does not require permanent defeat. This mindset changes everything. Confidence also deserves deeper understanding. Many think confidence means always feeling certain, speaking loudly, or appearing fearless. But external boldness can be fake. Some of the loudest people are deeply insecure. True confidence is quieter. It is trust in your ability to handle what comes. It is knowing that even if things go wrong, you can respond. It is believing you can learn, adapt, endure, and continue. That kind of confidence does not come from compliments. It comes from evidence. Every promise you keep to yourself builds evidence. Every challenge you survive builds evidence. Every skill you develop builds evidence. Every difficult conversation you handle builds evidence. Every time you continue when quitting felt easier builds evidence. Confidence grows when you repeatedly prove to yourself that you can be counted on. This is why self-betrayal damages confidence. When you constantly break your own word, avoid challenges, or run from discomfort, part of you stops trusting you. But the reverse is also true. When you begin honoring commitments, even small ones, confidence starts returning. Wake when you said you would. Finish what you started. Speak truth respectfully. Train consistently. Do the hard task first. Show up. These actions may seem ordinary, but they are constructing an extraordinary inner foundation. Inner strength is the ability to remain steady when life becomes unstable. Some people are controlled by every external event. Praise lifts them high. Criticism crushes them. Good news energizes them. Delays destroy them. One bad moment ruins the day. This creates exhausting living. Inner strength means your center is not easily stolen. You still feel emotions, but you are not dragged by each one. You still care, but you do not collapse under every opinion. You still hope, but you remain grounded during setbacks. You become anchored. That anchor is priceless in a chaotic world. How is it built? Through repeated encounters with challenge handled consciously. No one becomes strong by reading about strength alone. You become strong by carrying responsibility, by facing discomfort, by choosing discipline when excuses call, by staying calm in pressure, by recovering after failure, by enduring seasons you once thought impossible. Every difficult season carries hidden training. Many people ask life to remove the weight while missing that the weight is building their muscles. This does not mean you must enjoy suffering. It means you can respect what struggle can produce. The person who rebuilt after loss often carries gratitude. The person who overcame rejection often carries courage. The person who healed from pain often carries compassion. The person who endured hardship often carries depth. The wound did not automatically help them. Their response to the wound did. That distinction matters. Some pain hardens people bitterly. Some pain strengthens people wisely. Response decides. One of the greatest habits of unstoppable people is emotional discipline. They do not believe every feeling deserves obedience. You may feel lazy, still move. You may feel scared, still prepare. You may feel discouraged, still take one step. You may feel angry, still choose wisdom. You may feel uncertain, still act on what is clear. Feelings are real, but they are not always reliable leaders. If you let every mood make decisions, life becomes unstable. Emotional maturity means listening to feelings without surrendering authority to them. Another trait of unstoppable people is perspective. They do not interpret every obstacle as disaster. Traffic is inconvenience, not catastrophe. A mistake is feedback, not identity collapse. A delay is frustration, not life-ending failure. Criticism is data or noise, not destiny. Perspective preserves energy. Many people are exhausted not only by problems, but by the meaning they assign to problems. Change the meaning, and you often change the experience. Unstoppable people also understand pacing. They know life is not won in one intense burst. It is a long journey requiring sustainable strength. They rest without guilt. They recover strategically. They know burnout is not a badge of honor. They understand that consistency outperforms reckless intensity. This is important because some people try to become unstoppable by becoming extreme. They push until collapse, then disappear. True strength is steadier than that. It knows when to push. It knows when to pause. It knows when to reset. It returns. If you want to build resilience now, begin by changing your relationship with discomfort. Stop seeing discomfort as proof something is wrong. Sometimes discomfort means growth is happening. The workout burns. The truth conversation feels tense. The learning curve feels frustrating. The disciplined budget feels restrictive. The early mornings feel uncomfortable. Yet these discomforts often produce strength, freedom, and confidence later. Temporary discomfort is often tuition for a better future. Imagine two people facing adversity. One says, "Why is this happening to me?" The other asks, "How can this shape me?" One collapses into victimhood. The other converts pain into power. The same event can create different futures depending on mindset. You must also learn to speak to yourself with strength. In difficult seasons, inner dialogue becomes critical. If you tell yourself, "I can't handle this. I always fail. I'm broken. It's over," your mind and body respond accordingly. But if you tell yourself, "This is hard, but temporary. I have survived before. I can learn through this. One step at a time," strength begins to return. Words are not magic, but they direct attention and influence action. Use language that supports resilience. Think about your own life. Look back at seasons you thought would break you. The heartbreak, the disappointment, the fear, the confusion, the setback. Yet you are still here. That history matters. You already carry evidence of resilience. You have survived more than you sometimes remember. Use that memory. Let past survival remind present fear that you are stronger than you feel. Now imagine who you could become if you intentionally trained resilience, confidence, and inner strength for the next year. A person who stays calm under pressure. A person who keeps promises. A person who bounces back quickly. A person who is not controlled by opinions. A person who can handle difficulty without losing direction. A person others describe as steady, grounded, powerful. This future is not reserved for rare personalities. It is built through repeated choices. Choose responsibility. Choose discipline. Choose perspective. Choose recovery. Choose courage. Choose one more step when quitting whispers loudly. Day by day, these choices harden into character. Then one day, people may call you unstoppable. They will see the strength. They will admire the calm. They will notice the confidence. But they may never fully understand how it was built. They did not see the mornings you kept going discouraged. They did not see the tears you wiped away privately. They did not see the promises you honored silently. They did not see the setbacks you used as fuel. They did not see the internal battles won without applause. That is where unstoppable people are made. Not in easy seasons, not in public praise, not in perfect conditions, but in the private moments when someone decides, this pain will train me, this obstacle will sharpen me, this season will not stop me. I may bend, I may slow down, I may need rest, but I will not quit. That decision, repeated enough times, becomes identity, and identity becomes power. So do not ask life for less resistance. Ask to become stronger. Do not ask for smaller battles. Ask for deeper courage. Do not ask for guarantees. Ask for grit, wisdom, and endurance. Because the goal is not a life with no storms. The goal is to become the kind of person who can walk through storms and keep moving forward. Chapter 10. Living a life that refuses average. There is a difference between being inspired for a moment and being transformed for a lifetime. Many people experience powerful motivation. They hear a speech, read a book, watch a video, or reach a breaking point that awakens something inside them. For a few hours or a few days, they feel unstoppable. They promise change. They imagine a new future. They see themselves becoming stronger, wealthier, wiser, healthier, and more disciplined. Then ordinary life returns. The alarm rings early. Work demands attention. Stress arrives. Bills need paying. Energy dips. Old habits whisper. Distractions reappear, and the fire that felt so strong begins fading. This is where many journeys end, not because the person lacked potential, but because they never learned how to turn inspiration into identity. Motivation can start a movement, but mindset sustained through daily action creates a life. This final chapter is about integration. It is about taking everything learned, discipline, focus, resilience, standards, courage, sacrifice, growth, and weaving it into the fabric of everyday living. Because greatness is not meant to visit you occasionally. It is meant to live through you consistently. A life that refuses average is not built through rare heroic moments. It is built through repeated ordinary excellence. It is how you wake, how you think, how you speak, how you work, how you rest, how you respond under pressure, how you handle money, how you treat people, how you honor your promises, how you behave when no one is watching. This is powerful because it means greatness is accessible daily. You do not need a stage. You do not need perfect timing. You do not need ideal circumstances. You need decisions. Average often hides in routine. It appears in small moments that seem harmless. Hitting snooze again, avoiding the hard conversation, wasting another hour, complaining instead of acting, accepting weak standards, breaking promises to yourself, blaming instead of adjusting, choosing comfort when growth is available. These moments seem minor, but repeated daily, they become identity. Identity becomes destiny. Likewise, excellence also lives in small moments. Getting up when you said you would, beginning the task before you feel ready, speaking truth respectfully, keeping your space in order, moving your body, saving money, learning consistently, staying calm under pressure, finishing what you start. These choices may look ordinary, but ordinary choices repeated with intention create extraordinary lives. The relentless mindset is not about aggression or burnout. It is not about working endlessly, proving yourself constantly, or living without joy. True relentlessness is deeper and wiser than that. It means being relentless in standards, relentless in self-respect, relentless in growth, relentless in responsibility, relentless in returning after setbacks, relentless in refusing to betray your own future for temporary comfort. That kind of relentlessness creates peace, not chaos. One of the keys to living above average is removing the need for constant emotional readiness. Many people ask themselves every day, "Do I feel like doing it?" That question keeps them trapped. Some days the answer will be yes, many days it will be no. A better question is, does the person I want to become do this? That question shifts you from mood to identity. The future version of you wakes up. The future version of you trains. The future version of you manages money wisely. The future version of you follows through. The future version of you handles pressure with maturity. So act accordingly. This is how identity is built in real time. Another truth: refusing average requires boundaries. You cannot live intentionally while allowing everything access to your time, mind, and energy. You need boundaries with distraction, boundaries with negativity, boundaries with draining relationships, boundaries with self-sabotaging habits, boundaries with endless entertainment, boundaries with the version of you that always wants the easy path. Boundaries are not punishment. They are protection. They protect the life you are building. You must also normalize discipline as self-love. Many people treat discipline like suffering, but discipline is often the highest form of care. Waking early can be self-love. Saving money can be self-love. Exercising can be self-love. Saying no can be self-love. Studying can be self-love. Leaving unhealthy environments can be self-love. Keeping promises to yourself can be self-love. Why? Because discipline honors tomorrow, not just today. It respects the future version of you. A life that refuses average also values consistency over drama. Some people live in cycles of intense promises, followed by collapse. They chase emotional highs, make extreme plans, then disappear when excitement fades. That pattern looks passionate, but it is unstable. Quiet consistency may look less exciting, but it is far more powerful. The person who trains modestly but regularly wins. The person who saves steadily wins. The person who learns daily wins. The person who works calmly over years wins. Do not confuse noise with progress. Do not confuse intensity with commitment. Steady people often build the strongest lives. There will be seasons when no one notices your growth. Keep going. There will be seasons when results are slow. Keep going. There will be seasons when others misunderstand your discipline. Keep going. There will be seasons when temptation returns strongly. Keep going. There will be seasons when you must begin again after slipping. Keep going. Relentless people are not perfect. They are persistent. They know falling is human. Returning is power. This mindset should also shape how you treat others. Refusing average is not about arrogance. It is not about looking down on people. It is not about becoming cold. Real greatness creates humility. It makes you kinder, not crueler. Stronger, not harsher. More disciplined, not more judgmental. More focused, not less compassionate. The best people rise and lift others too. They model excellence. They speak life. They challenge excuses. They create value. They become proof that change is possible. Let your growth bless others. Another part of integration is gratitude. Ambition without gratitude becomes endless dissatisfaction. You can pursue more while appreciating what already exists. Be grateful for health while improving health. Be grateful for income while building wealth. Be grateful for lessons while seeking wisdom. Be grateful for where you are while moving forward. Gratitude protects joy. Ambition creates momentum. Together, they create a balanced life. Imagine your average day redesigned with intention. You wake with purpose instead of delay. You protect your first hour. You move your body. You focus on priority work. You speak with maturity. You eat with awareness. You save with discipline. You learn something useful. You close the day with reflection. Nothing dramatic, yet repeated over 1 year, everything changes. This is how powerful lives are built. Not through fantasy mornings and occasional breakthroughs, through structured, ordinary days. If you ever feel yourself slipping back into average habits, do not panic. Awareness itself is progress. Many people drift unconsciously for years. You noticed, that means you can reset. Return to basics. Sleep well, wake on time, clean your space, move your body, do one hard task, keep one promise. Speak to yourself with strength. Begin again. You do not need to rescue the whole future in one day. You need to win today with intention. Then repeat. As this journey closes, remember something essential. You were never meant merely to survive routines you dislike. You were never meant to live beneath your gifts. You were never meant to outsource your future to habit, fear, or comfort. You were built with capacity. Capacity to grow. Capacity to lead, capacity to heal, capacity to build, capacity to love deeply, capacity to become more than your past. The world has enough people settling for average, enough people blaming, enough people waiting, enough people shrinking, enough people living far beneath what is possible. Be different. Be the person who shows up. Be the person who keeps promises. Be the person who grows through pain. Be the person who chooses standards over excuses. Be the person who remains humble and hungry. Be the person whose daily life reflects purpose. One day, people may ask how you changed so much. They may think it happened suddenly, but you will know the truth. It happened in mornings no one saw, in choices no one praised, in sacrifices no one noticed, in resets after mistakes, in daily battles against comfort. In ordinary moments where you refused average. That is where the relentless life is built. Not once, but every day. So walk forward with strength. Live awake. Live disciplined. Live grateful. Live courageous. Live intentional. And above all, live a life that refuses average. Because the extraordinary version of you is created each time you choose not to settle.